Right, so a quick tech tip to show you good people out there how to replace wheel studs on your vehicle. It's a really simple process. Let's get into it. Right, so I'm going to be swapping out wheel studs on the Capri today, and that's basically because I've bought a new set of wheels for the car, and the standard studs are now just a little bit too short for my liking. I'm only getting about 3 or 4 full turns on the nut before the wheel is tight, which you could argue is enough. Maybe for the street it is, but for a track car on semi-slick tyres, the last thing I want to happen is to shear off a wheel when I'm fully loaded up going around a fast corner. So I have bought some studs which are 10mm longer, and I'm going to throw those in place of the old ones. Now, this process applies to all vehicles with wheel studs. Now, obviously, stud nuts are completely different. Right, I'm going to be using the wheel studs in the rear half shafts of the Capri to demonstrate this, because I've already got these removed from the car because I've spent all day replacing the rear wheel bearings, which there is a tech tip video for if you want to see it. I'll put a link at the top of the screen right now. So I've been spending most of the day replacing those, but the last job is to replace these wheel studs. Now, thankfully, this is pretty easy. All they need doing is knocking backwards out of the hub. But before you smack them out, I like to get a wheel nut and just put it on the stud there. Make sure the stud doesn't protrude past the nut, like that, and then just get the biggest hammer you've got, a big lump hammer's fine, and just hit it that way, and you should be able to pop it out of the hub. There it goes. Right, take the nut off. One stud out. Right, so now it's pretty much rinse and repeat for the remaining 3 studs. So turn it around in the vise. Clamp it back in there, get the nut, put that on there. Like that. Now obviously that's going to protect the threads, and just knock it out. Right, great, so we've got those 4 wheel studs knocked out of the hub, and like I said earlier, that process is the same across the board, no matter what car you're working on, what vehicle, whether you're working on the car or off the car like I am, or wheel studs, you just need to knock them backwards out of the hub. Great, so we got those 4 wheel studs out. Now we can install the 4 longer wheel studs, and the great news is this process is as easier, if not easier, than removing the old studs. And all we need for that is a wheel stud. Obviously, we need a few washers, we need a wheel nut, which we've already got, and then we just need a ratchet with the correct size socket, which in the case of the Capri here is a 19mm. Right, let's install one of these new wheel studs. So all I've done is just put a bit of copper grease under the head of the stud where the splines are. That should just make installation a little bit easier. So I'm going to get the stud into position through the hub like that. I'm going to put on a couple of washers, like so, and finally a wheel nut. I'm actually going to put it flat face towards the washers. Like that. Now all we need to do is get our 19mm ratchet and socket and just crank on this thing to pull the stud into the hub. Just keep going. You might encounter some resistance as you do it, but keep going until the head of the stud meets the back of the hub, at which point, right there, you will not be able to tighten that up anymore. Then just back off the nut, and that should be one stud installed. Right, I'm rapidly losing daylight, so I need to get this tech tip wrapped up. But that's it. I've done one half shaft there, installed 4 new wheel studs, and I think you'll agree that's a really simple process. And I hope this video has given you the confidence to give it a go yourself. Now, obviously, I've got the other half shaft to do, but that can wait till after I've done this. And then there's the front hubs to do when I'm next at the Capri. So there's another 8 studs to replace there as well. But I'll get around to that eventually. There you go. If you enjoyed this tech tip, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stay up to date with the channel and see more little tech tips like this, please do consider subscribing. Cheers. See you for the next tech tip, whenever that might be.